Hey everyone, welcome to a little tutorial series that I'll start with the category Beat Kleavor. I want to make a little playlist in which I just go through my PVs to explain everything a little bit here and there about the game, because there's a lot of things that go unexplained and I want to make sure that there's a video to kind of like follow along with my notes, with my PV, to kind of get started. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments, and then yeah, I'll try to answer them, but I'll also try to answer them already with this video. So let's get in. For the category itself, this category, you just need a safe hardware setup to be on the starter select. So I'll go in. It's good past the load, and the timing starts when you confirm this box. That's also written in the rules, but I just wanted to mention it. We're picking Cyndaquil because Cyndaquil has a very nice quality of being able to defeat the high level Beautifly to get to a really high level very quickly, which is pretty much all you need for field lens. We're doing this in every category, but in this case it also makes sense in terms of research. We're just picking up Cyndaquil here. I'll go past these talking. If you toward the A button and then hold B at the same time, you will get past text as fast as you are legally allowed in the speedrunning. Otherwise, if you don't have a turbo controller, feel free to mash a lot. But you can also just hold the B button, mash the A button. That also works quite well. And we're starting with this door. This door is the first of the obstacles that we have here. I'm gonna turn on the cursor so you can see what I'm pointing at. So with this door, you just spam the A button, and when this is going on, there's gonna be a door sound. When you hear the door sound, you can already move the camera. So we're using this, so the camera ends up being turned this way. So we just let it turn to the left, and once we start to see things, you'll already be able to point where you want to go. This is much easier to just instantly go straight and straight line it without having to like make a turn or anything afterwards, which could lose a tiny bit of time. This is usable every time you exit the galaxy hole and you want to move anywhere, and this only works if you exit through the door. Otherwise there's no returning. It only works in this use case. And we're just gonna sprint along. I'm gonna just skip. Nope, that's too far. And you'll see this distance marker. I like to think about 7 being the trigger. So at 8 I start to get ready, like 9, 8 I start to get ready. And what that was, yes, a little bit of pixelation there, a bit of fragmentation there. It's just VLC. But essentially what I'm doing here with this, that is the crouch cancel. And you see that the animation I do is a bit different. Aww. Bit of a shame about the VSC, but when you get up from a crouch, that is when much quicker of an animation finish. Like there's no like I have to stop momentum or so. The character just goes immediately stopped because the crouch is just that much slower. And when you get up, you are in the idle position that it needs to be to start the cutscene. And that is why we do crouch cancels. And let's get started with Volo, the first fight in the game. What you can do here, when you are turboing A, you can just mash the Y button on to that. We just want to have this menu available, because that's very nice to have. And we're just spamming quick attacks. And luckily my PB got what we call fast Cyndaquil. You'll see that on the second attack we are already in the move order. We've jumped up that we can attack again after quick attack. If you have Cyndaquil, I think effort level 2 on the speed, or plus nature on the speed, or like a combination of that. If that is the case, you should be able to be so much faster than the total people with the fast move quick attack that eventually you are going to gain a turn. And in this case, we get hit 1 time less by Togepi, thanks to that. And that is what we call a fast Cyndaquil. This is also important for later in the notes. If you have the notes open, that are also going to be linked below this video. If you go to the last page and check out the Irida fight, you'll see me mention something with fast Kleavor. And that is essentially this case. If Cyndaquil outspeeds Togepi in this way, you know that Agile Ember will cause Glaceon in that fight to not do a quick attack. And that is a time save in terms of getting damage, having the damage thing come through, and like seeing the animations and stuff. It is a small but measurable time save, especially for this category. So that is why we kind of care a bit about it. Something that will not be shown in this video, but you'll see it in the other categories at the start of each video, is if you go into the settings and you see this ZR confirmation button thing, turn that off, because that is going to be important on Shinx. Because when you're in a battle and you switch with X the menu from your Pokemon selection to your ball selection, or even on the Pokemon selection itself, if you press ZR, you can use that to either use that Pokeball or use switch out to that Pokemon. And if you don't have ZR button confirmation turned off, you're gonna see like an extra text box of, do you want to do this? And that is something that you should be disabling before the run, so you can just go and have fun. Also, deactivate autosave for this category. It just makes sense. You're gonna be back at starter select if you just reset. Otherwise, autosave is gonna destroy it, and you have to play back to the point of starter select to start the next run, which you don't want to. So yeah, let's get to the next one. Yeah, 10-second skipping is kind of bad, but hang on for a moment. Next one is, all these triggers here have kind of like a bigger zone of when to trigger, and it turns out we can kind of trigger it on this line here. So I just aim to be able to crouch here and be able to trigger this cutscene, because we're going straight. That is the shortest path. Otherwise, it's actually a few more steps to actually trigger that cutscene that gets us into this. And yeah, let's go to the first catch with Bidoof. It's just aim and throw. In this category, we keep our Pokeballs, so that's fine. The next thing with the trigger point for the cutscene, when this thing says 2 is usually when it's active. I tend to go a little early because I always think like I gotta be crouched at 3 already. You can go tiny bit later, but that is not too important. Again, you just rush to the Pokemon and then catch. Nothing crazy. I'm gonna skip it ahead. If you really want to, if your starty is very close to the tree, you'll be able to switch to the Pokemon and already activate the tree and loot the tree. That's gonna give a tiny bit of experience to your Cyndaquil if you really desire so. Otherwise, if you have a starty that spawns way closer to that side, you're not going to be able to make it to the tree, and it's just gonna cause you being stuck in other animations, so the cutscene cannot start. And the next point for the trigger here, it's kind of like after the 2 is gone. Of course, VLC does its thing again, but you'll, at this point, you're probably used to it. Kind of like after 2 is the point that is a trigger. We don't need to loot the tree despite the tutorial telling us how to do it. We just need to care about Shinx. And to enter this cutscene trigger, you kind of like imagine the end of the grass as a line to aim for. You see that in this case, where I just went, if you're really far at that stone, that tiny bit of like free area is still not the cutscene trigger. Kind of like take this further back grass as kind of a line and draw it across here as your visual reference for this. And again, crouch cancel, it activates the cutscene really quickly unless you somehow get stuck in an animation for a moment, which can happen on crouch cancels. I'm not the most knowledgeable about it, but I'm just gonna inform you. Don't be worried about it. It just happens. But yeah. Let's go to Shings. You can backstrike if it tends to spawn around here. You see it doesn't spawn in for a moment. You can go around and backstrike it. The difference is very minimal. We're talking about a few percent here. It's always around 70% kind of a catch chance. So it's not too valuable to spend that 1-2 extra seconds just to probably get a breakout as you would normally without a backstrike. Anyway, the important thing here, if you try to activate this battle a bit sooner, try to throw the Pokeball a bit further down. Like, yeah, you tend to target on the Pokemon, but if it's further back, try to throw a little bit further down and still get into the battle, because the sooner the Pokemon hits the ground, the sooner the battle gets initiated. That's how you're saving a little bit of time. That was, I think, closer to the edge of where it will trigger. And in this case, yeah, now I immediately press X to switch, and I immediately already press ZR at that moment. So I switch and already activate, and because I have ZR button confirmation off, there's no text box of asking me, do I really want to do this? It's immediately going to attempt with the Pokeball. And I haven't talked about shake types. If you have a low hop only, it's guaranteed catch. That is the first check, a success. Otherwise, after this longer shake, there's a second check. If that's a success, it'll be caught. If it's not a success, it'll break out. In this case, it is a success, so I caught the Pokemon. And one thing I have not mentioned in a moment, we'll go back to this. I have forgotten to mention this. If you're on this, you can either press the D-pad left or right to scroll, or you can press L or R to scroll. You just want to be on the second page and just keep on using your toe button, which is A, to skip past these as quickly as possible. So I just immediately when it pops up, you just press R to scroll to the second page, because pressing A will not work for a while, but the moment it works, you already want to be on the last page to get rid of that information. Alright, just more stuff. And now that we are here, we have to run for the first time that we're brought back into the village, because there's no warping yet. We want to avoid this this steep slope here, because on this we go up very, very slowly compared to the steps. So we want to only really hit steps and then just get A. And this here is kind of like a trigger at like 5 to 4. As you can see, I hit it quite well in this case. And we just get through this. And again, here, the same with the door. I don't have sound active for this, you will not hear the sound either. Just go watch the PB run itself, which is also linked in the description. You'll hear the sound, and that's when I already started turning the camera. And I just abused the fact that I have a turbo to activate things as soon as possible. You can crouch cancel on the mirror. Similar way to just get your character stopped. And then you just select this, and at this point I press B and I press B and hold B, and then start pressing A again with the turbo. So with holding B, I advance the text a little bit faster already. It's a little small optimization you can always think about, like when to press B to kind of just get the text faster, progress, and just hold the buttons and win. So it's gonna warp us directly into this. And now the important matter is we don't have the roll yet, so we just have to shorten the path as much as possible. Just keep on sprinting, it'll be fine. You'll run out of sprint anyway, or you just have to cancel your sprinting for a moment. It's not gonna matter, just keep on sprinting, just use it fully until you run out at this point. And then yeah, here it's again a nice 5 trigger, And you can just crouch cancel into this, and that is the entry trial. We can skip further ahead. In this case, we have a cutscene, so there's nothing to do. But the next part that we have to do something is this moment. Again, it's a 5 trigger. This one is a bit harder to hit. I feel like it comes up quicker than I'm kind of like ready for. So I tend to miss it sometimes. It's kind of like a 5-4. And now for the crafting. To be able to get the fastest animation possible in terms of getting into the next cutscene after crafting, you just tap the control stick a little bit. Like you see like a tiny step taken forward, and then you just craft. And you see immediately the idle position is reached and you go to the next cutscene. It's a very simple thing. Also, when you have the Pokédex open, always keep in mind spam B to get out of the Pokédex. That's gonna come in handy later when you're asked about your research after obtaining a crafting table. And yeah, again, just sprint until you run out, hold A to interact ASAP, and then go into field lens. On the first time you go in here, I have forgot to mention that too. I'm sorry that I'm forgetting a few things. I'm a little bit of a mess with my brain, but the first time you have to scroll over to the field lens. You can hold your turbo A button. It's fine, just hit the right button on the D-pad, and the moment it's gonna switch over, it's gonna ask you to enter field lens. You'll be fine. Right. Now the tutorial part that tells you how to dive, which is very useful as a mechanic to get higher up on slopes. And immediately we go towards this Beautifly area. I kind of like to think of this as kind of like a zigzag, as you can see. I kind of like go forwards. Definitely try around on this little ledge to kind of like see where you can go the best pathing. And here you want to aim for this ledge here. Off this ledge you can fall down, and when you fall down like this, your airspeed is gonna be very, very quick. And you're gonna make great distance. Again, just let yourself fall, and then eventually gonna run out of sprints. There's two ways to deal with the sprinting. I use the little bit easier method, which is slower. That is, just get to the exhaustion point and roll 3 times. But if you're good at timing when you'd be exhausted, press down on the stick to undo the sprinting. Then you only need to roll twice, and then you can sprint again at pretty much full distance. And then repeat, rinse and repeat to be that tiny bit more optimal. Here, there is a way to get up here. I think you need to hold out a Pokemon or item for that. I don't go this path. I don't think it is that much better. So I just aim for this green part here and just use my dives to get up very, very quickly. Otherwise you kind of end up being a little stuck on the running. Yeah. And sometimes you can kind of clip off these edges a little bit to get a little bit of a fall. But that is not too important. Now, the important part of the run. We're already 18 minutes into this recording, and literally it's only 30 minutes of the run. Now the important part is the main strats. On my notes say you have to catch Beautiflies of both genders. Their markings are kind of good to see, but you need a bit of experience to tell them apart. Otherwise, the backups you can do, there's a backup in which you don't catch Beautifly at all. That wouldn't be available in this case because there's a Wurmple here, there's a Wurmple here, I don't see a Silcoon. You want a Silcoon for that strat to be as fast as possible, otherwise you just have to evolve some Wurmples and like figure something out on your own. Otherwise, if you know that you don't have enough Beautifly, you can tell by the amount of spawns that are going to need to be here. If you have like 4 spawns here, there's a very high likelihood that you won't have 4 Beautiflies in this area. So at that point, just go catch a Wurmple, catch a Beautifly, and follow the first backup that is mentioned. Other than that, you see these red markings on these Beautifly. These markings, if they're half the length, it's a female. If they're full length, it's a male. So I know that this is a male. As you can see, it just popped up, male, level 20. So this would be within level cap if I catch it and then rank up. When you rank up, everything up to level 20 is going to listen to you, and it's only care about when you have caught it, at which level. So this will be an obedient Beautifly, which is coming in important later. And then I don't really care what Beautifly catch next. I already got 20, which is best case. And you see that this is the short marking. You see how short it is. This is a female Beautifly, so that's what I'm catching. It's unfortunately level 18. I'd prefer higher levels for better experience. You're gonna see why that's going to matter. And then we're just gonna follow the strats with Ember plus Rollout to get a rock kill, and the Embers to get research on Cyndaquil, because we want to finish Beautifly and Cyndaquil as entries. So a thing that can happen, you can crit Ember and one-shot a Beautifly. If that happens, well, that's sad, but that's just how it happens sometimes. And unfortunately, again, level 18, because these can range from 18 to 22, ideally you want to catch a 20 and then everything better be 22 for your Cyndaquil and Starly to be as high level as possible. But unfortunately, I got a bit unlucky. This was a 18 and this is a 19. So I know already that my Cyndaquil is going to be a bit low level, but I'll misjudge it a little bit during this run later on. So yeah, it can be burned sometimes. If you have a worse speed stat, sometimes these Beautifly will be able to outspeed you. It can only get scary if they use Silverwind, which is the move that we want to use in a bit. Otherwise, just don't try to miss the 90% accurate rollout and you'll be fine. If there's some accident going on with entering the battle or you've missed rollout, feel free to just run away while that miss is happening or while you've messed up already, and just exit the battle and just try to come back in with a backstrike. And that is a good way to back it up if you've messed up in that sense. And now all you do is follow these points. Like in here, it's kind of like just watch out for the 5 to 4 range and you just sprint into this. Distance from here to this is actually just a full sprint. You don't need to care about running out of sprint at all or anything. And again, for the 5 to 4 range. And yeah, one difference that is now something I do differently. I drop down towards here and then follow along the Starly, and then there's a path along here. It doesn't really matter where exactly you drop down, although the longer you drop down, the faster you will fly through the air. And then on this path here, you can just use rolls to get over it. It'll be fine. And then here, this one is a trigger at around 3. So keep that in mind that this is a much closer trigger. And let's go past that. And then again, this is gonna be around 5 to 4. And that is the last trigger of this segment. In this case, I rolled into it, which is also a very valid strategy if you are not sprinting in that moment. Just roll into it, you'll be fine. So now, because I followed the main strats, all I need to do now is evolve my Cyndaquil. The reason why we will wait with the Evo until this point is if we were to like loot the trees and everything, we're still going to get the experience bonus that you get when your Pokemon's ready to evolve. In this game, Cyndaquil starts to evolve at level 17. So starting level 17, it's going to get a small boost to every experience it's going to earn until it is evolved. It's a nice mechanic that was introduced in Gen 8, and that is something to abuse. And when we walk back to the camp, we don't go to Professor, we go to this exit and kind of like use this stone as a line. In this case, I crouch too late. This is a slow crouch, as I like to call it. It's just missing the timing and starting to crouch after you've entered the trigger for the cutscene. And this is going to skip a little kind of like info box about research, which is not going to be found in your help section afterwards. If you want to complete that, well, don't do this speedrun, I guess. But this is gonna just warp us back here and get us into this. And with everything we have done, you'll see that Cyndaquil and Beautifly are finished. This is 200 points, it's 400, and then add this to that with the Kleavor, and you will be at a nice 500 points. Bidoof can be heavy, which can lead to 510. This does not matter if you have 500 or 510. It does not matter. It's all the same. That's all you need to care about. And now that we can warp, we are just going to go front gate. So like we are just going to go Galaxy Hall. It's the first option. Just warp and complete. And now we have to speak with Lian directly. Just A to speak. Nothing crazy going on. B to exit the Pokedex. And we rank up and then cutscenes. And now at this stage we warp to training grounds, because that's where we have to do the fight. Make sure that your Pokemon selection here is on a Pokemon that you want to use. In this case, it is my level 20 Beautifly that I caught. It's the highest level Pokemon of the Beautifly that I have available, and it's also obedient, so it is my choice. Now, Pikachu is a kind of fast Pokemon. It will occasionally outspeed your Beautifly, even if it's like level 20. It can use Thunder Shock, which is a problem, or Thunder Wave in this case, which for me is a real problem because you can get stuck in paralysis. But at this point, just gamble on the Silver Wind. Silver Wind is a guaranteed kill in any circumstance. Like on other categories, what you can do is Flame Wheel on Kleavor. It's literally the same stats and same damage output, so it is always a guaranteed kill. In this case, I got through the paralysis and it's guaranteed kill. The move cannot miss. So it is a very, very good strategy. It's just a question of, is your Beautifly faster? If yes, that's fantastic. Other than that, just get through this, and once you're out of that, immediately warp to the front gate, walk out, and have this. And at this point, you have to manage the sprinting a little bit until you're here. I've skipped forward a bit. There's no, just stay on the path. Don't like go up to the right. And I kind of aim for this to get again this fall to be just a tiny bit faster with movement. And get to this guy. Crouch cancelling doesn't really work on this guy. I just make sure that I'm in this kind of like position. This is the stopping animation when you're like from speed and you're slowing down. So that's the animation that would otherwise happen if you don't crouch cancel. For crouch cancel here, I aim for this little bit here. You can go a little bit later with how I did it, and it's fine to enter this. And yeah, this fight is pretty simple. You quick attack, hope to not die to the rollout. It is a very strong attack, as you can see. If it crits, you are dead. Then rollout, then quick attack. And sometimes your starter might not have the best attack. If it's level 15, there's a really real chance that you might not kill Munchlax here, because it is a bit tight with your damage. Just keep that in mind. It is fine to die. If you die, there's some backups, like using Shinx with Thunderfang. Or if you have evolved Shinx because of using different strat, it's Luxio, quick attack. And that is the options you have. And now you just kind of like straight line it. If I go back, kind of like just follow the path here, just straight line it here. I like to go between these rocks here and then just kind of like straight line a zigzag. Make sure to not really be on a slope to slow myself down. And like straight line it here and then pass the Geodude here. And yeah, here again, like it's a 4 round that where you need to crouch cancel, or you can just dive into it, which is also very valid. And then again, be ready with the Pokemon you want to choose. And then around a 6 is the trigger here. As you can see, I hit it quite well. Like when it's like 7, that's when I start to crouch for the crouch cancel. And then we enter, and now Kricketune, you might be able to outspeed it with a study, it's a slightly less chance. And it's very, very usual that Kricketune is going to outspeed you. In this case, also, a crit would kill, so just try to not get crit. And then Air Slash itself, when it crits, it is pretty much a kill. Or if Kricketune has very bad special defense, it can also happen. And in this case, I didn't even crit, I just killed it outright. I might have good special attack on the starty, I don't know anymore. But this Kricketune, definitely, the defense stats matter a lot more in terms of damage calculation. And this Kricketune definitely had really bad special defense. And in this case, I didn't need to use like a quick attack or area ace. What you use doesn't really matter. Just use one of them to get down with the Kricketune. In this case, that was a big time save. We just advance through the cutscenes, and the very important thing is, normally at this point we would report research, and if you've actually gotten any like little bit of extra research but not caught anything, it would appear, the research points would appear again, the score, and like have this little sound again with this animation that you could technically rank up, even though you haven't really gained any points, because you haven't even though you should have like gained more points, you are already ranked up. That's a little bit of a bug that we just try to avoid by not generating research at all, to just immediately fade into the cuts, into this warp to the village, and yeah, be done with that. When you wake up, just walk out, don't try to open the chest, just be wary with your A button usage. Then cutscene, we just entered as usual with avoiding the slope, and because we can roll, we roll up these steps. 2 rolls is enough to gain the maximum out of these steps, because sprinting up the steps is just a tiny bit slower than rolling up. But when you go down, sprinting is the better option than rolling, because a roll just stays on the ground. So you see, I wait with the rolls until I'm very much down, and then I start to roll here. You can space it out into 2 rolls like this, or you can do 3 rolls, whatever you prefer, but I think 2 rolls is the more optimal variant. And then again, the trigger I think is around like a 4 if you get to crouch cancel it. Otherwise, you just roll into it if you space it out like that. And yeah, let's get through this. If there's anything you want to just like have a look at it again, just scroll back in the video. I'm trying to compress it as much as possible to not have it too long of a video, because this is a very short category. I'm going very, very, very deep into detail. For the other categories, I will not really go into this detail for this part of the game, because I will have shown everything. I'll just mention a few differences. So if you're from the other videos here to just check them out, I hope you enjoy these tutorials. And yeah, in this case also, when we are at this stage, when we've received the mission and we've spoken to Lian and Element has come by, we have to interact with this door, because now the ability to buy satchel space is unlocked. Until we have interacted with the door, there's no warping possible. There's just no option to warp when you're on the screen in that state. So we have to interact with the door before we can warp to the front gate, where there is another cutscene trigger will follow before we exit, and we have to click. We have to remember to be warping to the Heights camp here, which I forgot in this case. It can happen. Don't worry too much about it. If that happens, just warp to Highlands. It's a small time loss, but yeah, you can a bit squeeze through here between the craft table and Galaxy team member, and then kind of like head up the hill and aim for this part where you can use the rolls, traverse quite quickly. You're also kind of running out of sprint at that point, and you want to be sprinting when you're falling off to carry more distance. I like to kind of like make a landing here to not take fall damage, to slow myself down. And when I go down here, I tend to take fall damage. In this case, I have thrown Kricketune onto the ore because I see it's not level 18. And I'm desperately trying to make it level up. Desperation will become bigger as we go on. And because the Pokemon needs a little bit of time to return, I couldn't use the other ore there. And then I just aim for this kind of like area here. Just fall off. And then what you want to aim for is kind of here. This is where I aim for to, again, sprint off. And then we head this way. You saw how a roll kind of like sticks to the ground there, which is fantastic. I have a little moment which can show it off. We just traverse the water, just try to roll over the water, not really step into it. The water is very slow to traverse, as you can see here. And now we come to a nice little part we can do where if you hold out like a Pokeball with ZR, you hold that down. For some reason, we can go up slopes much easier in this state. And that's how you can go up that slope without any issues. Otherwise, it is a very kind of like slow climb. And then I aim for kind of like this little ledge here to jump a little bit over the water. I lost a bit of speed there. That's fine. And then just traverse kind of like in a straight line. And this is also kind of like a trigger at around 5-ish. And my Starly, if it was level 18, I would have access to the strong style version of Area Ace, which is a one-hit on Gumi. But because it's not, I will have to set for quick attacks. In this case, I got especially unlucky because it used acid armor. If you have this case, go for strong style. Strong style itself is gonna lose a little bit of time in terms of the animations and stuff. But it's the only way to kill from there. That is why there's a note with Starly might need strong in the backup section for the Lian fight. And this is how I figured out that that can even happen in the first place. I was very unhappy about that because I was on record pace at that moment. This used to be the record. But it's no longer that. Yeah, once that's finished, just walk back to the professor. Any camp will do, but just go first camp. And the trigger is very early here. Kind of like the moment you start moving towards the professor, you want to crouch to be able to crouch cancel, which I did in this case. The trigger always catches me off guard. This is like a prime spot for a slow crouch. And once you interact with the professor, you'll be automatically taken into the Galaxy Hall, and again, you just warp out to the front gate after the cutscene, where you'll be taken to the Heights camp immediately to receive Wyrdeer. From here on out, things are a bit simpler, although in my case, my Kricketune didn't make it to 18 still, because of how low level the Beautifly were. So instead of being able to just go and run, I have to loot these ores, left and right, like ores and like. In this case, I even try to catch a Pokemon. At this point, once you have Wyrdeer, it doesn't matter if you generate research or not. You can just go. There's no time loss associated with it. And in this case, I've hit 18 now, which I need for Flame Wheel to be available. And yeah, I've just done this jump there. This is pretty much the first place we want to head to. Just make sure to not have too much fall damage when you drop down. Like maybe take a step or two like I did without Wyrdeer. And then you want to jump very late here and aim towards this general direction. If you dismount, if you get dismounted, that means you're landing a bit too much in the water. Just walk forwards until the ability to remount is given. And then you can jump over here. And here you don't want to sprint. You just want to go diagonal up here. Otherwise, you can kind of like get stuck in like over jump and then actually just drown. And otherwise, you can just go up here. And then at the latest point, just jump again towards this direction to try to land on the land here. And then you can turn left and see this kind of like little bulge here. You want to like follow this to the right a little bit. Sort of like this. This is the sweet spot that you get to just run up without Wyrdeer getting stuck anywhere, and just follow the path around here and then just sprint through. You don't need to jump. There's no slaughter in the water with Wyrdeer. You just straight line it. And with Wyrdeer, when you're on Wyrdeer, just run into a cutscene trigger. You're gonna land and immediately be idle. It'll be fine. And now we get to the Glacian fight that I mentioned earlier. We have Kleavor that is fast, so we go into Agile Ember. And you'll see that Glacian will only do a swift attack. Ember can burn, so if you get a burn, it's a bit unlucky. And then Flame Wheel is going to kill from here. If you get rain for this section, if you get any kind of rain, Agile Ember Flame Wheel will not kill. At that point, you have to spam Flame Wheel, which sucks a bit. If your Agile Ember does a lot of damage because you have really good stats, or you're maybe even level 19 somehow, you might even be able to do a second Ember. You might not even need Flame Wheel to finish the fight. Just observe how much damage Ember does and then judge from there. If Agile Ember does like half damage, it's absolutely safe to just click Ember again. It is a slightly faster way to finish the fight. And yeah, let's go to Kleavor. When you start, you get a menu. And then now with Kleavor, what I do here is I have in mind where kind of like a little bit of a rock is. You'll see in a moment. I'm trying to lure Kleavor here to bonk into this kind of rock here, sort of like central. And dodge that. That's hopefully the only dodge that we need if you have a bit of a messy fight, which can happen sometimes. You might need to dodge more, but essentially I'm just walking out of this kind of like spin attack range and still try to hit here. The moment the spin attack happens, I start to walk into it again. Just don't go too early. In this case, I wasn't sure about Kleavor doing a dash already, so I just dived into the spot I want to stand in. I want to just be at the rock, and you'll see that Kleavor is invisible. We can still hit Kleavor, but essentially Kleavor is already at the wall, is going to immediately bonk before being able to hurt us. So that's why we want Kleavor in this space to begin with. And now Kleavor is gonna do this cry because we've hit half health. And because I stood close enough, Kleavor is gonna do the spin again. If you walk too far away, Kleavor will charge at you and the strat is ruined. But in this case, I managed to hold it together. Again, safety roll. I just didn't want to choke the fight. You don't need to do it if you move correctly a little bit faster. Try to watch ILs to educate on that, yourself on the proper timings of that. I'm not the best player mechanically. I just am kind of like decent at routing things, and most of like the routing for this category, especially the Beautifly usage itself, was kind of like my idea. I'm very proud of it, but that's glazing I'm gonna do. And just rinse and repeat with the dodging this spin. That was a bit tight here. The moment Kleavor has done the charge, you want to immediately walk out. And then until you have finished the fight, and on fade out, the run is over. And that is my current PB. That's how you speedrun Beat Kleavor. And that is how pretty much early feat lens goes. If you hear from a different video, feel free to return to it, and otherwise feel free to check out my PBs and the clips I've uploaded, even though I might not even be active on that anymore in the future. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you enjoyed kind of like this breakdown of this run. I'll do more of these. This is the first recording that I've done, and everything will be based on this, so I hope you enjoyed that, and see ya in the other tutorials or in the speedruns live on Twitch. Bye bye.